The Defra clean air strategy claims that 38% of fine particulate matter comes from domestic combustion. Is this correct? And is it mainly from wood burning stoves?
Well, you're right to sound a little bit skeptical there, Nick, because it sounds a little bit incredible, doesn't it, that 38% of all particulate matter comes from wood burning stoves. And unfortunately, that is not correct, even though it states it in the clean air strategy, as you say. The way the clean air strategy arrived at this figure was to estimate a volume of wood burnt in the UK, and then to multiply that by something known as emissions factors, which are set out in the National Atmospheric Emissions Inventory, or NAEI, as they abbreviate it to. So two different elements there. The first element, in terms of the volume of wood burned, they based on a user survey that was done in 2014 by Bayes, and that was only based on 1,200 respondents. From that, somehow, they managed to extrapolate that 6 million tonnes of wood is burnt on stoves and fireplaces in the UK. For that to be true, that would be more than half of all of the wood consumed in the UK across manufacturing, construction, packaging, etc. So Defra themselves were aware that this is unlikely. And in fact, if you look at the small print in their impact assessment, they acknowledge that. In 2019, the Stove Industry Alliance did its own survey, done in a very similar way to the Bayes survey, asking very similar questions. And that was based on 10,600 respondents, so a massive increase over the 1,200 that the original survey was based on, and came out with an estimate of 1.85 million tonnes of wood is burnt on stoves and fireplaces in the UK annually. That means that the estimate of 6 million is overstated by more than 3 times. And given these are straight multiplications, that meant the estimate of particulates is overstated by more than 3 times. That 1.85 million tonnes has been further supported by a recent survey done by Kantar for the government, which has estimated that the wood burnt is 1.75 million tonnes, which is very close to the Stove Industry Alliance survey, and clearly indicates the error in the initial assumptions, which the 38% is based on. The second element of this is the emissions factors. And the emissions factors that have been used to calculate the amount of particulate matter coming from wood burners are historical figures which are no longer accurate given the technological improvements in stoves and fireplaces. So if you look at the emissions factors, they actually are, again, more than 3 times, just happens to be the same ratio, but they're more than 3 times the amount that is permitted under the eco-design regulations. Well, we know from the statistics that the industry has been keeping that in excess of 10% of the existing stock out there now is eco-design compliant. So these emissions factors need updating to reflect current technologies and the nature and makeup of the existing stock which is out there. Defra themselves acknowledge this, and they are on with research to update these emissions factors, but unfortunately they haven't been updated yet. And hence this 38% figure keeps being repeated, but it's categorically not correct. It is a far more reasonable estimate to think that wood burning stoves and fireplaces account for, it's considerably less than 10% of the particulate matter out there, and it may well even be significantly less than that. The other complexity in this is that the domestic combustion figure has been calculated in another way as well by Defra, but that way includes any wood combustion and anything actually that produces a chemical tracer called levoglucosan, which they've measured. And that includes bonfires, incinerators, outdoor barbecues, pizza ovens, It will also be impacted on by things like wildfires or agricultural prescribed burning and so forth. So there's huge uncertainty about these figures, and the 38% really isn't correct. But unfortunately, the press and media keep picking up on it and citing that wood burners are the biggest contributor of particulate matter, which there is no evidence to support.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that, because that's certainly one of the big headlines that, as you say, keeps popping out.